What's good? This is Trey, and I'd like to welcome you to this presentation on the topic of how to overcome your fear of approaching beautiful women. This topic is important because if you don't overcome your fear of approaching beautiful women, you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunity. And, beautiful women are everywhere. So if you are unable to approach them or your fear is holding you back, then you know you're just gonna have to rely on your social circle or dating apps. All right, I mean that's pretty much would be your only options. Which I mean, for some people that's fine, but me personally, I like to have the ability to see a beautiful woman and be able to approach her in a grounded, confident, masculine manner. So in order to do that, you have to overcome your fear of approaching beautiful women. So, if you want to overcome your fear of approaching beautiful women, it's going to require some action, right? It's going to require you to face this fear head on. Can't run away from it. You can't dust it under the rug because it's going to haunt you. It's not good. It's not going to go anywhere. And you're always going to have to live in regret. Like, I wish I was able to approach women, or I wish I would have approached that girl, or right? And me personally, I faced this fear because I was sick and tired of missing out on opportunity. When it came to beautiful women, because I was afraid of approaching them. So it's gonna require that commitment to facing it and taking action. And basically, you're gonna have to consciously activate what is called your fight or flight system, or your sympathetic nervous system. So that is what is triggered in your body, and then you start to experience fear and anxiety, because when you see a woman, you're programmed. Your subconscious mind is programmed to see that woman as a threat, right? A beautiful woman, the idea of approaching her, to see that as a threat or dangerous, because supposedly the theory is, back in the day, back in the caveman tribal days, if you approached a beautiful woman and you got rejected, then the whole tribe or the whole community would find out, and you'd be considered like a low value man, and no woman would want to mate with you. And then the other part to that is, if you approach that woman and she was already taken by like a powerful alpha or chief or whatever, then you could be killed, right? So that's the theory of why we have this hard wiring of fear when it comes to approaching beautiful women. I don't know if it's true or not, but all I know is we do have this fear, right? It's a real thing when you see a beautiful woman. But it can be overcome, right? And that's why I made this video, is to show you how to overcome it. So the way how you overcome it is basically you have to find a place where you can approach women and purposefully trigger your fight or flight system. You want to trigger this fight or flight system, so you can basically let it like run its course, like let it just run itself out, because you're going to basically be telling your subconscious mind that, hey, there's not an actual threat here. There's not actual danger. We're not in the old days. Like, no chief is gonna come and kill me, right? No, even if I get rejected by a woman, doesn't matter because there's billions of other women. Like, so you gotta reprogram that old program. You know what I mean? And you want to get familiar with your sympathetic nervous system, because in order to override this old programming, it's going to take some time and effort. But in the meantime, if you can learn to become familiar with it and realize what's happening, you'll still be able to operate in this fear. And it actually can come across as very attractive and sexy to a woman if you can demonstrate that you can still take action and be proactive while experiencing fear, right? There's only a certain type of man can do that. A strong man, a confident man, a courageous man. And what are you signaling to her? You're signaling high survival, right? Because a man who can um, stay grounded and present in the face of fear is a man that can survive in life, right? And so a woman, she's naturally attracted to men who demonstrate survival values. So this will work in your favor if you learn how to become familiar with it and don't see it as something to run away from or just go straight into autopilot, right? So here's the thing: you gotta get familiar with it, and what you'll realize, or um maybe you haven't realized it yet, but you will realize this, is that the fight or flight system, it takes control. Like, your body goes into autopilot, and it literally it messes with your subcommunication. Like, you can't hide. It's very hard to hide the fact that you're experiencing fear. So when you approach a woman, she'll see, like, in your eyes, she'll see the fear in your eyes. She'll see the fear in your body language, your tonality, your facial expressions, mannerism, gestures. Now think about this. If you approach a woman and you are looking fearful, right? You're looking anxious, right? How is that gonna make her look at you as, oh yeah, I'd love for him to be my man? Think about that. That doesn't even make any sense. Why would she be attracted to a man who can't even be like relaxed in her presence, right? That's not attractive. So, I have come to the understanding that you can make it attractive by owning it, right? So that's what you can do until you get to the point where you override this stuff, which you can get to that point where you're no longer like experiencing this intense fear when you approach a woman. But until you get to that point, you want to learn how to just be okay with it, because it's just a feeling, right? It's not like something is actually happening that can hurt you. It's just a feeling. It's just a feeling of fear. But if you can get familiar and comfortable with this fear, then you could just sit and watch it, like the same way you go on like a roller coaster or go to a haunted mansion, right? You know that nothing actually is gonna happen, so you just experience it, like, and you're okay with it. That's what you want to get to that point when you approach a woman, and that can come across as attractive. You're signaling to her, hey, I'm the type of guy that can experience fear and still operate in that fear. But just know that it is going to affect your subcommunication. So ultimately, we do want to get to a point where we're not experiencing those high levels of fear in the presence of a woman. So yeah, when your fight or flight system is triggered, your body goes into autopilot and you lose control of your body. That's the problem right there. Your body goes into autopilot, so you literally lose control of your over your body. So of course it's going to affect your subcommunication, and a lot of times you won't even approach the woman, because the fear is so intense. And you may have wanted to approach the woman, but we got to remember, the conscious mind, you have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is that part that's going in autopilot. That's 95% of your mind, and the conscious mind is 5%. So you could consciously say, oh yeah, I want to approach this woman, but if 95% of your subconscious mind is telling you not to, the 95% is going to win. So that's why we want to override it, reprogram it, and learn how to get familiar with it so you can take back that control. So yeah, you got to get familiar with your fight or flight system so you can control it. When you demonstrate that you have control over your fight or flight system in the presence of a woman, you'll naturally demonstrate attractive subcommunication, right? You'll come across as confident, courageous, detached from the outcome, proactive, and not needy. All of these qualities are high survival value qualities, high value qualities, high status qualities, alpha qualities, masculine qualities, right? So you'll trigger primal attraction in a woman when you demonstrate this. So yeah, as I said, demonstrating you have control of your fight or flight system shows strength, power, masculinity, and dominance, right? Because when you approach a woman, a lot of times you're not the only one who's experiencing that fight or flight system. She's experiencing it too, to some extent. And if you can approach her and you have more control over yours than she does of hers, then you can come across as dominant, right? You can come across as confident and secure. She may not even think that you're experiencing fear because you're just a lot more comfortable in it than she is, right? And perception is reality, right? So if she perceives you to be confident, you may, even if you're experiencing fear, it doesn't matter. All that matters is that her perception is seeing you as confident, and you just leverage that. Okay, cool, I'm confident. You don't need to like say, oh, I'm actually afraid or whatever. I mean, you can, right? Because that can show a certain confidence in and of itself, the fact that you're willing to admit that. But me personally, I'm not really. I mean, I've done it before, but most of the time I'll just, if I'm experiencing any type of fear, right, I'll just sit in it. I'll just sit in it and just communicate from it, because I've experienced it so many times that it no longer has that, that level of control where I go into autopilot. You know what I mean? Like I'm very aware and conscious of what's going on with the fight or flight system. And so I'm watching it, and it's like I have my hand on the reins, like, if there is a horse, if you're on a horse, you can let the horse go, but at any time you can hold on to the reins and redirect it or whatever. So that's kind of how you want to be with your fight or flight system. It's like you see what's happening, but at any time you can, move however you want to move, because you are in control, right? But until you get familiar and conscious of this fight or flight system, you're not going to have that control, right? You're going to be out of control. So yeah, only a real man would be able to remain cool, calm, and grounded in the presence of a beautiful woman. So if you can remain cool, calm, and grounded, she's gonna see you as a real man. That's why approaching a woman is I think is really cool, because first of all, a lot of guys don't do it, and when you do it and do it correctly, it really makes you stand out, you know, because it's very rare that a man can approach a beautiful woman and remain cool, calm, and grounded, right? And actually even though he may be experiencing fear and the tension that comes with approaching a woman, he can still ground it out. He can still like let it just feel the fear in his body and just let it, process itself out. So what you want to do is trigger your fight or flight system daily so you can learn to control it, and your subconscious mind will soon realize that there's no need to trigger the fight or flight response in the presence of a woman. So this is what happens if you go out and you approach women like on a daily basis. You're going to trigger this fight or flight system. And if you get references that show you that nothing actually happens, like you don't actually get harmed physically, your body and mind will start to realize, hey, why are we wasting all this energy triggering this fight or flight system? Because it's a lot of energy that your body is using to trigger it. And all that energy is going to your extremities in case you need to run. But once your body starts to see that you don't need to do that, it's gonna limit the intensity of it. It may still trigger it to some extent, but it's gonna be, a lot less intense than it was, in the beginning. So just so you understand, I went out and did exactly what I'm telling you to do for years. Like I went out and triggered my fight or flight system over and over again for years. And what happened is I became very grounded, relaxed, and present when interacting with beautiful women. Sometimes I'm not experiencing any fear. Sometimes I am. And if I am experiencing fear, I'll just ground it out, because I just know, I know what's happening. Like I'm not like unconscious. I'm aware, like, okay, the fight or flight system is being triggered right now. Okay, that's cool. Well, I'm still going to do what I got to do. I'm still going to talk to this woman. I'm still going to ground it out. I'm still going to, move the conversation forward. I'm still going to do everything I need to do. And I'm not going to let this fight or flight system stop me from doing what I need to do, because I know there's not an actual real threat in the environment. right? It's an illusion and based on some old programming from my ancestors or whatever. So I was so afraid of approaching beautiful women, I had to start by approaching old ladies. So I had to put my ego aside and say, you know what? Because I was going out to malls and, I was in college. I would you try to approach women in college and stuff like that. And it was tough to do it consistently. Like you may have days where you're feeling more courageous than others, but I knew that consistency was important. So I said, you know what, man, I'm gonna start approaching old ladies. And that's what I did. I started approaching old ladies and built that up. Built it up to the point where I was able to approach beautiful women. So yeah, if you can't approach beautiful women, just start by getting comfortable in the environment. So that's like literally can be the foundation. Is like, let me just get comfortable in the environments and approach whoever you can, right? Old ladies, men, just do what you can, because it's better to approach someone than to not to approach anyone. So when your fight or flight system is triggered, you'll start visualizing negative scenarios and you'll engage in negative self-talk. But the goal is to become aware of this and realize that you have a subconscious program running which simply needs to be reprogrammed. Okay? So yeah, that fight or flight system, it starts to take over your body, and you'll start visualizing negative scenarios. Oh, what if this girl rejects me? What if her boyfriend shows up? What if she thinks I'm ugly? This and that, blah blah blah. Right? And it's going to give you that negative self-talk, and it's going to put the visuals in your head, like you're going to visualize yourself getting rejected or what. But the goal is to become aware of this. Like, just watch it, right? Become aware of it and realize that it's a program that's running. That's not you. You're the one that's observing and watching it. And that program that's running can be reprogrammed, right? You can change the self-talk. Instead of thinking, what if I get rejected? You could change that to, this girl is going to love me. Or you could change that to, if she rejects me, it's her loss. Or you could say, I just want to see what's going to happen here. There's no expectation. Like, I just want to, she's cute. I just want to so you could change the self-talk. And what we want to do is we want to become very aware and mindful when experiencing fear. So it's called metacognition, where you become aware of how you're thinking, behaving, and feeling, right? By becoming present and mindful, right? So that's what you want to do, is like watch yourself, like watch, oh wow, that's what I'm saying to myself. That's what I'm visualizing. And you could write this stuff down and replace it with something else. Like this, that's what I did. I started telling myself, you know what, I'm a sexy beast. Women love me. A woman can't wait for me to approach her. If you tell yourself that over and over again, it's going to reprogram, right? And I would visualize myself approaching a woman and having great interactions. Visualize myself getting the girl's phone number. Visualize a girl having a great time interacting with me. So the fight or flight system, why is it even there? Well, it's designed to keep you safe. It's designed to keep you safe. Like, what if a lion, shows up in it? Very unlikely, but what if a lion shows up? Or something more likely, what if someone shows up with a gun? Right? Your body has this fight or flight system to make sure that you you do what you need to do to remain safe. If you didn't have a fight or flight system, you would see a threat and you wouldn't even react at all, and then you could possibly die. So you do need the fight or flight system is necessary, but it's just when it comes to beautiful women, it's kind of like not so necessary, because like she's not actually a threat. So what you want to trigger it on a daily basis, and you're going to be telling your mind, hey, there's nothing to be afraid of. Right? And we're actually wasting energy triggering this sympathetic nervous system, and your body doesn't want to waste energy. Right? So if you can train it to realize that it doesn't really need to be triggering the fight or flight system, at least not at that high intense level. As I said, it may still come up, but it just won't be as intense because it realizes it doesn't need to be that intense. Right? So yeah, one thing, just being real with you, expect the process to be difficult and uncomfortable because your ego as a subconscious mind is going to do everything in its power to make you give up. Your ego doesn't want you to trigger the fight or flight system. It doesn't want you to step outside your comfort zone. Your subconscious mind just wants you to just run the same program because if you're alive and surviving, that's all it cares about. So this is going to be a difficult thing. It wasn't easy. I remember like I had a tough time with it, but I was sick and tired of not being able to get the women I wanted. I was sick and tired of not being able to have a healthy dating life, a healthy sex life. I was sick and tired of being a victim. So I did what I had to do and I just kept, facing this fear until I overcame it and I could approach women, I could create attraction and I could get them, to be interested in going on a date. And it was worth it. It's very worth it. I'm so glad that I went through this, because now I don't have to rely on luck. I can go and make shit happen. I can go out and meet a woman in the next 5-10 minutes. I literally have had times where I've went out and within 5 minutes I have a date, like a solid date. Like it's not like you know a pity date or anything like that. Like the girl's like really interested, like can't wait for the date. And I wouldn't be able to do that if had still had the fear of approaching women because I would have saw that girl and walked away. So this is the foundation. You have to overcome this fear. And like I said, like I'm saying right here, that's why most men don't approach women because it requires a certain level of determination and perseverance to override this old fearful programming. Oh, there goes a woman. She might reject me, blah, 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 blah. Most men have this issue. It's just that, a lot of guys will just ignore it or pretend like they don't have it. I didn't do that. I said, you know what? I am afraid of approaching women, but I'm not going to be like this, right? I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to overcome this fear, and I'm going to become the type of guy that can approach beautiful women anytime, anywhere. So going through this process will show you how you're not in control. You'll see that the subconscious mind is running the show. It's running the show. You are not in control most of the time. And especially when it comes to approaching beautiful women. That fight or flight system, it takes over your body and it comes up with all these negative thoughts and negative feelings and all that shit. And then you end up not approaching her. So the reason I was able to override my subconscious programming is because I would go out every day, even when every cell in my body was telling me to stay inside. So your subconscious mind, your ego is gonna fight you. It's gonna be like let's say you go out today and you go and approach a few women or whatever. The next day it's gonna be like, bro, don't do that shit again, bro. Like that was cool. You did that day, whatever. But let's not do this again. We're good. We're okay. We could just watch porn or we could just whatever. Don't fall into that. Don't fall into that. You have to have the will and the discipline to say, nah, I gotta get back out there. I gotta override this old programming, right? And become the type of man that can approach a woman in a confident, grounded, masculine manner. And you can apply the concept of exposure therapy like I did. You could start with old ladies or just start with what you can. Whatever you can do, start there. Even if it's just going out and just walking around and just being, because some people have like high levels of social anxiety. Forget about approach anxiety, right? So you may just the fact that you're in a social environment might be like nerve wracking. So you just get comfortable with that. And then once you're comfortable with that, then you try approaching someone. So that's exposure therapy. So remember, the goal is to overcome your fear. Right now, we're just trying to overcome that fear. It's not about getting the girl. If you get the girl, that's great, but that's not the focus. And once you make this come to this understanding, it takes a lot of pressure off yourself. Some of the fear is coming from the fact that you think you need to get the girl. If you drop that idea and just say, you know what, I just want to get comfortable approaching women, this will make the process a lot easier. So yeah, you want to stay present and grounded in the face of fear until it becomes who you are. You want to become you want it to become natural and effortless. Like you can get to a point where approaching beautiful women is like a natural and effortless thing. Like you may still experience the fight or flight system, right? But you can just see it for what it is. Like, okay, I know what that is, but there's not an actual threat here, so I'm gonna approach this woman. And when you approach the woman, that fight or flight system, even though it's basically gonna run energy through your body, and that creates tension. Now, that tension, if you can sit in it and be grounded in it, it can actually bring like electricity to the interaction. And if you ground it out nicely, it will feel good for the woman. Like, she will feel like she's in the presence of a real man. Like, cause she can kind of sense, like, okay, like he may be a little, like, whether he's afraid or not, she may be experiencing some fear, and just the fact that you're in the situation and you're handling the situation, it calms her down, and it shows her, oh, this is the type of man that can handle shit in life. And not only that, he can handle shit and handle me. So that's very attractive. So focus on getting as many references as you can to prove to your subconscious mind that there's no reason to trigger the fight or flight response when approaching a woman. So that's the goal here. It's like, hey, subconscious mind, look, you're triggering this intense fear and anxiety for no reason. There's not an actual threat, right? So if you trigger it enough times, your subconscious mind will start to realize that and be like, oh, okay, let's lessen this, let's lessen the intensity. Like, maybe we should still trigger it here and there, but let's not gather up all this energy and bring it to the extremities. And that's just not necessary. As you overcome your fear of approaching women, your sub communications will reflect this newfound confidence. So your sub communications will start to be more attractive, sexier. Your eye contact will be more solid. Your body language will be more certain, more relaxed, right? All these great things will start coming across in your sub communication. And another cool thing that will start happening is that fear will become excitement. Like, for me, the fight or flight system, when it gets triggered, for me, it's more of a feeling of excitement, right? It's kind of like, you're about to get on a roller coaster, or you're about to go in a haunted house, or you're about to, do something interesting. Like, it's not so much fear, it's more about excitement. And just the act of going outside is a win. If you want to overcome your fear, and at first you're having a hard time approaching women, just go out. Just go out and put yourself in social settings, because you're making progress. That's way better than staying home. And some days you have a very hard time pushing past the fear. And that's why I started with old ladies, because I wanted to be consistent. I knew that consistency was very important, and consistently getting references was important. So that's why I was approaching old ladies, because in my head, it's like, okay, either I'm going to come out here and walk around for hours and not do anything, or I could talk to some old ladies. And what happens if you talk to the old lady and it shows you're telling your subconscious mind, like, hey, you just approached another human being and it wasn't a big deal. Why do you think it's such a big deal if the woman's attractive? Like, what is the difference? She just looks better, but there's not going to be like a whole different, response. It's probably going to be, she's probably either going to talk to you or say, no, I'm not interested. It's not like she's going to stab you or shoot you or anything like that. So I hope this was helpful. And yeah, you could take these tips and insight, go out there and start, working towards overcoming your fear of approaching women. But if you'd like help and you'd like to know my step-by-step formula for overcoming your fear of approaching women, so you can naturally approach, attract, and date beautiful women, send me a message or comments, overcome fear, below, and we'll get in touch, and I will give you some insight on, like, specifics, and like more of like a customized action plan that you can apply to overcome your fear of approaching women. All right. Thanks for watching. Peace.